Hello and welcome back to Fuck the Rules, the podcast. We are discussing rule number 4 today, which is why sex isn't the secret to a happy marriage. Now, like most things when it comes to human behavior and really just life in general, actually, it's not always that black and white. Now, sex can be an indicator of a happy marriage. And there's also sex and then there's sex too, right? So, I think there's a lot of kind of conditioning around and it's going to probably be quite individual depending on who you are and for whatever reason, whatever your beliefs are, that to have a healthy marriage or a happy marriage, you need to have sex X amount of times per week is usually the kind of the gold standard. But what if I were to tell you that there isn't a gold standard? Like, what if I told you that, having like deep, erotic, soul-shattering sex once a year is going to be more beneficial for your relationship than, having sex 2, 3 times a week? Like just a quickie or just kind of a get over and done with, or just chase an orgasm and then be done, roll over and go to sleep type thing. Now, again, it's not incredibly black and white, but I really wanted to talk about this because there is, like, I know I personally also have had this rule, this belief of like, well, we need to be having more sex because we're not doing it enough. That must mean that we aren't happy. It must mean XYZ, whatever. Insert whatever it is that resonates for you. And I just really want to come on here and tell you that that's not always the case. So if you're somebody who worries about this, take a breath. You don't have to worry about this anymore. And I just want to encourage you to, I guess, take a moment and reflect on what does your current sex life look like, and where do you as an individual want to make changes? What are your, like, how frequently would you like to have sex? And do you want it to just be solely chasing an orgasm, or do you just want to be in your pleasure and, your partner be in his pleasure or her pleasure, whatever tickles your pickle? There is no one way to do most things in life. And we can get so caught up in what we think we should do or what other people are doing, or we're comparing it to our friends and, how frequently they're doing it, that we can lose sight of what we want, what is enough for us. And I'm going to be fully transparent. My partner and I don't have sex heaps. We really don't. Like, it's a miracle if we have it, I don't know, 4 times a month, honestly. And like I said, I've definitely gotten caught up in, oh my God, that's not good enough. But also seasons, right? We all go through seasons in life. And we have 4 children. And, I run a business. He works full time. We try and balance going to the gym and filling up our cup and socializing together, but also separately. And, there's so much to do all the time, look after the house, spend time with the kids. Like, it's pretty wild out there, can I just say? And there's just not enough time in the day. So sometimes, it is just a genuine like, hey, I'm absolutely wrecked come 9 p.m. If I'm honest, that's most nights for both of us, really. And is that always a good enough reason? No, absolutely not. But I had to ask myself, what do I want? And I had a conversation with my partner about it, and like, what are his desires or even expectations? And so I just encourage you that, like, to have maybe have a conversation with your partner. What would you like? What can we work on? And how can we honor the season that we're in? Because maybe it's similar to ours. Maybe there's just so much happening, and there's just not enough, or at least maybe it feels like there's just not enough time in the day to try and do all the things and fill our cup and all that. So, what might be realistic and what would you like? What would be enough for both of you? Because it is the two of you in your relationship, not the two of you and your friends or your family or society. What if you didn't shame yourself or make yourself wrong or whatever it is for not having an incredibly high sex drive? Is that to say that you can't make changes? Absolutely not. Perhaps you do need to make some changes. And if I'm honest, I would love to have sex more with my partner. But like if you're here, it's probably because you follow me and you've probably like there's a high chance you've heard me speak about, self-protective mechanisms, the way that we, slip into survival very often in our relationships. And for me personally, I'm too tired. I don't, and I'm just not that part of my cycle. They can be excuses, if I'm really honest, so that I don't have to be vulnerable in intimacy. Now, this isn't going to apply to everybody, but for me, it absolutely does. And it's really interesting because I've had people reflect to me that they think I'm a very like sexual person. And so they assume that I must have sex all the time or, a decent amount. And I'm like, that's just not the case because I've got my own shit in the way. But I also won't allow this societal conditioning of it, you need to have sex 3 times a week in order to have a healthy marriage or whatever, to dictate what is or isn't acceptable for me and my relationship. Because it's mine, ours. No one else is in it. And if it works for us, it works for us. It's definitely a challenge when you have, varied sex drives. And like, again, that can change as well. Like sometimes it might be the male, sometimes it might be the female. Sometimes they're both on the same same wavelength. Sometimes neither of you have a very high sex drive. And so many things can influence that. But more than anything, I really just wanted to like debunk the rule that, a lot of sex means healthy marriage because that's not always the case. And even people that have sex a lot, like is it really are you connected to your partner? Are you really present? Are you giving and receiving? Are you just doing it because you're ticking a box? Is your body even a fuck yes for it? Are you doing it because you feel like you should or you have to? There have been many times, especially in my previous relationship, but a few, even in this one, excuse me, where I haven't really been super on board, but my self-protective mechanism is to give sex, okay? Not have sex for my enjoyment or pleasure, but to give sex so that he won't cheat on me or so that because like my ex said that he cheated on me because he didn't get enough sex from me. Um, and like there's a lot of conditioning that women's bodies are for the male gaze and that the male's pleasure is more important than ours. And we're not really very few of us have grown up with your pleasure matters. Ask for what you want or need. Does that feel good? I want more of that. It's like we prioritize our partner over ourselves. So I think more than anything, I would really love you to just get curious. Where do you stand? Honestly, if you're really, really honest with yourself, and like I would encourage you to have a conversation with your partner if you feel that's, required. What would be acceptable enough? What would fill both of your cups, your relationship? What would feel great for your partnership, your relationship? And just honoring that women especially are very cyclic as well. Okay, when I'm coming up to my bleed, I tend to not want to be intimate. I want cuddles and snuggles and I want to be told that I'm a beautiful little princess, but I don't necessarily want to be penetrated. And sometimes even like males have their own stuff going on, their libido can be impacted by their mental health or if they're stressed or whatever it might be, you know? So it's really important to get clear on what you would both really like, whilst honoring that you are human, he is human, and to have realistic expectations. That's it for today's episode. If you liked what you heard, would love for you to give this podcast some love. And I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.